Welcome to the Airedale All Access Preseason Coaches Show. I'm Jimmy Haas along with Coach Doug Loughridge. This is Alma football. We've got Van Buren coming up, another great season. Last year, Coach, you opened up the season by defeating Van Buren 21-14. That game really set the tone because your kids come up with some adversity. I think they felt like going in, they were going to have a little bit easier time. And at the end of it, it was a one-touchdown game. And so I think that set the tone. That was good. That was a good thing for them.
You know, Van Buren game is always a good one to start off with. Number one is because I think it's one of the great Arkansas rivalries that goes way, way back in Arkansas high school football, and just it's a big community deal for this first game. It's coming out of fall camp. It's not hard to get the kids up for this game at all because so much is on the line, and it's just a great community experience. But reflecting back to last year's game, it was we started off, and kind of traded blows back and forth, and then kind of got up on them, and then you just kind of back and forth, and it came down to an interception late, and then had to field an onside kick. So, definitely a great first game. Went through a lot of different scenarios and situations, and got us ready for our conference teams later down the road.
Coach, back-to-back conference titles last year. It was a four-way tie for the conference championship. You finished 5-2. You started off the season 1-2 in non-conference, and we've talked to you about that a lot in the past about playing tougher and playing up and tougher opponents, getting you ready for the 5A. You finished 5-2 in the 5A last year. But man, what some great games in the 5A. The Morrilton game, we got to see the emergence of Criswell, who I feel like is probably the best quarterback in the state of Arkansas, and we'll get to see him again this year against Morrilton. But if you think back to last year, that 5-2 conference mark, the 5A West was tough. You won 2 playoff games, or you won the first playoff game, and then the second playoff game was just a shootout. So it was a great season last year. It was a fun ride, especially in the radio booth.
It really was. I really, really am partial to the 5A. I think it's one of the most competitive classifications throughout, top to bottom. Of course, the 6A, 7A schools, there are a couple in both those classifications. But as far as having the top 32 teams in 5A and not having 16 per classification, I think 5A is really tough. There's, you see some of the things that's happened this past weekend with what PA did to Harbor and some things like that. So 5A is tough. I really am a firm believer our conference gets us ready for the playoffs. Our non-conference games get us ready for our conference. We play 2 7A teams and a very well-respected 6A team, and by no means are any of those games gimmies or anything that we can look at and say we're going to win this one. It's always going against great coaches, great players, and it gets us ready for the teams we're going to see in the conference. And this year should be not any different. Our conference, will be top to bottom, I think, one of the most competitive conferences going into the state playoffs.
Coach, in the preseason, in the non-conference, you play 2 6A teams and a 7A team again this year. You open up with Van Buren, of course, Tuesday night, then Springdale and Russellville. So this will be fun. I love the fact that Mickey Duvall and the guys down in Russellville, Mickey does the radio broadcast for them. They're always very gracious, always very helpful. With anything that we need whenever we're down there. And that's one of the things that Alma always extends to visiting teams and visiting TV and radio guys that come in. And it's nice to see. And in Russellville always goes out of their way to help us, and we're certainly glad that they're on the schedule. Last year, you beat Whitehall in the first round of the playoffs, 28-9, and then a shootout with Little Rock McClellan. That game ended 60-52. Tough way to lose, at the end of the year in the playoffs. But I'm going to tell you something. Those kids left it all out on the field. That was a special bunch you had last year.
We did. There was never a game that they did not think that they were in, and there was never a part of a game that they didn't know they couldn't come back in. And we showed that resilience, I think, all year, from Van Buren game all the way to that last game, and made some very, very exciting games for the fans. Wasn't ones you felt good right about as a coach, just because if you're working there in that environment, it's pretty stressful. But last year had the best offense to date in school history record wise. Defensively, we weren't up to par what I would like to say we have in the past. We gave up probably about 10 more points a game.
Right.
But, some of those games were shootouts, and we won because we outscored people. I think we're going to be more balanced this year. I think offensively we got a chance to be really, really good offensively again, and I think defensively we got a chance to be a lot better. So I think as an overall team, this team's got a chance to be one of the better teams.
Coach, you graduated a lot of players on last year's team that were just phenomenal at their position, good kids on the field and off the field. Let's focus on some of the kids coming back. And I'd probably kick myself a million times if I didn't mention Keegan Roseberry. This kid, 6'1", 205. He runs a 4.6 40. He's just phenomenal, just a good ball player.
Keegan was primarily a defensive starter last year and did some backup roles as running back, but he when he gets off the bus, you can tell he's a player. He just looks the part. He's about 6'1", close to 200 pounds, great speed. He's in our track program. He's a sprinter, and he just gets better and better and better. This year, he's going to be primarily, I think, an offensive starter, taking over the role at tailback that was left by Tyler Alexander. But I think that he'll also be able to fit in some defensive packages for us because he was our third leading tackler last year. He's on all of our special teams, so he's just a dude. He's a guy we're going to have to do well this year to be successful.
How about Colton Bowerman? Love watching that kid last year.
Colton is one that I'm also glad we had to have back. He and Austin Fraley at safeties. Colton was the leading tackler in 5A last year. He's number 3 overall in the state. He just brings that it factor back in the secondary. He's smart. Obviously, growing up as a coach's kid, he knows exactly what to get you into, what to do. He can speak the verbiage. He knows. He makes people around him better. I think just by the way he plays. He's one of the more physical guys we have. He fits like a linebacker and has the speed to play like a safety. So it's definitely good to have him back there and have him making all the checks for our defense.
Coach, coming back on offense this year, the way that you run the multiple sets on offense, Felix Wright was he really come on, especially after midway through the season. He's back again this year as a wide out, and that young man made some impressive catches last year.
Felix had a good season. Last year he suffered a midseason injury and really hadn't got back true to form. We're hopefully by midseason we can get him back and get him in the mix. Obviously we had Hunter Canfield who stepped in last year after he got hurt. So we feel really good about our skill guys. Grayson Bailey, who last year was the backup to Braden Johnson, but this year there is no Braden Johnson. So Grayson is the one that's going to step up there. And we had a move in from Russellville with Marquise Peter, who Marquise ended up being Russellville's best receiver last year and had some big plays in the playoffs. So we're looking forward to him helping us.
How about All-State left tackle Zach Henson?
I would say, our strength of our football team is our offensive line. Last year it was the big question mark. That's all we talked about. But very proud of the production our offensive line had last year. We had 5 juniors, and we had a brand new offensive line coach, and Coach Chris Smith. And I'll tell you, Chris Smith did a phenomenal job with those guys. I would put his name stand on this table with anybody about the best offensive line coach in the state, and he has developed those guys. Zach bought in and moved a position and went to left tackle. He saw himself as a tight end type defensive end / H-back guy, but he got big enough that we thought his career at the next level is at offensive tackle. So he's played that, was made All-State with that being his first start. And you've got him on one side, Levi Prestidge on the other, and we got Darian Crawford and Eli Alec back better than they were last year. We lost Nate Alexander. Nate is suffering from a serious illness that we're hoping that he can get in control and get back and at least try to get back with us to be a part of the team. But Nick Archer stepped in to take over his role, so feel really good about those 5.
Those are names that we called on a weekly basis last year, so they're very familiar. Alma's been picked 7th overall in the state to start the season out. Morrilton, of course, picked to finish atop the heap in the 5A West, and I think it's strictly because of the Criswell kid. Very, very talented, athletic quarterback. Really come on last year as a sophomore. They returned six starters on offense and defense. You look down through it, Harrison's picked 2nd, Greenbrier 3rd, Alma's picked in the 4th slot, but you return 8 offensive starters and 4 defensive starters. At this point, with the depth that you had last year, I feel pretty comfortable with that. I don't mind being picked 4th at all because just like last year, you had 4 tie for first place with a 5-2 mark. So It doesn't worry me at all. I'm not even concerned going into the season. I know you're going to do the politically correct thing and say, well, we're probably picked a little too high, but yeah, Farmington and Clarksville are going to be good. They got a lot of returning stars. Clarksville's got 9 offensive and 8 defensive starters coming back, but still, I think you guys will be knocking on the door for a third straight 5A West Conference title.
I think we're going to be fine. I think it's going to come down to how injuries play through the year and how we develop the kids all the way through the season. We still got some kids in some key positions that are going to have to keep developing through the year. The picks with the Hootens was obviously the coaches' votes on where we would end up. And, that's one of the roles, one of the mottos our seniors came up this year was destroy the doubt. They're out. We think that we're a little better than that. Of course, like I said, we're pretty high on our group.
Yeah.
But our guys know that does not make a difference to them. They know we talk every day about it's not where you are right now, it's where you end up. So there's a lot of season. We're about to go 10 weeks in a row, and like I said, we'll just play it out and see how it all goes. There's going to be high points, there's going to be low points, and it's how we're going to adjust to that adversity and how we're going to come together as a team.
Coach's first game against Van Buren, they have a new head coach in Casey Dick, former Arkansas quarterback, stepping in as the new head coach. Van Buren's gone through a lot of adversity, with their head coaching position. Every time they hire someone, they have a lot of faith that they're going to stay. It just hadn't worked out that way. But Casey brings that gunslinger mentality. That's the way he was in high school, and he tried to be that in college. And he went through some injuries in college, but a lot of people know his name. I think they're real hyped up in Van Buren about it, and they think they got the right guy. I wish the best for the Pointers every game after the first game of the season.
Well, I've played in 5 Van Buren games, and this is the 3rd head coach that we've had to prepare for since I've been here. So it makes it a little tough on us because you really don't know what you're going to see. It's different head coaches, different coordinators, different philosophies. But obviously, our guys, we see so many different things year in, year out, and our stuff in the summer gets us ready for no matter what we can see. We're going to be ready for just about anything. Obviously, there's a new energy in Van Buren. The kids have bought in. I think we saw them this summer. I think they're doing really well with what they do. And like I said, obviously, you can throw what's happened in the past out the window in this game. It's going to come down to what happens on Tuesday night.
Starting quarterback. I've been pressing you all week.
We'll have a starter on Tuesday night. We've been working 2 quarterbacks all through fall camp, all through summer. We've charted them, we've statted them, and we're probably going to go in the first couple of games playing 2. They both have the intangibles. One of them has some things, the other one doesn't, and so on and so forth. The good thing is, I know they're the best coach quarterbacks in the state because of the way Chris Gunner has developed quarterbacks. Every year since I've been at Alma, we've had an all-stater, and it's been a record setter. And obviously, we feel good about both of them. They're both bigger quarterbacks. Tanner Shelton's about 205 pounds. Landon Blair's about 240.
Right.
Both got good arms. Tanner's probably got the X factor as far as the way he runs the football. They both have complete control of the offense, and we're just we're developing both of them, and there's a chance you're going to see both of them, maybe even a third one throughout the season.
Anything that you want to know about the Alma School District, all you have to do is go to airedale.nation.com. John does a phenomenal job with that. You'll also be able to tune in each and every week for the Coaches Show. We've got a lot of tremendous sponsors. We certainly appreciate all of them for jumping on board again this year. Kendi and her crew do a phenomenal job preparing this show, editing, getting it on the air for all of you that that follow and track what the Airedales do, and we certainly hope that you'll follow us throughout the season. We'll be back on 103.1 Fox Sports Radio again. David Ray sessions. Mike Hessen will be back in the booth with me. This will be the 5th year in a row for David Ray being a part of this broadcast. This will actually be my 15th year starting here at Alma, and certainly looking forward to another fun run. So when we talk about it, Hootens picked Alma 4th as far as what the coaches thought. Looking at that, like I said earlier, I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me a bit. I don't mind if they pick us last because back-to-back years of winning the conference title, or sharing a part of the conference title in such a competitive league. And every one of the teams in the 5A West, if I'm not mistaken, won their first-round playoff game last year. So that tells you what strength that they have here in the 5A West. Coach, do we have any changes on the assistants that you have? Any new faces we're going to see this year on the sidelines or up in the booth?
Our senior high assistant coaches stayed intact for the second year in a row. We did lose our junior high defensive coordinator, Seth Burgess, to McAllister, Oklahoma, but we gained former Airedale Alex Burris. So Alex came back. He's our head 8th grade coach, and our junior high defense coordinator just doing a phenomenal job, and you're excited to get him back on board. But for the most part, there's usually not a lot of turnover in coaches in Alma.
Right.
We've had 3 head coaches in the last 40-something years. Coordinators stay. It's a good place to coach football. So that's another sign of your program is the coaches you get here and how long they're here and what they do for you.
Only game in town, Tuesday night, 28th. We want to see you at Airedale Stadium. Van Buren and Alma tee it up again. County rivals. It's a long-going feud. So we certainly want to encourage you to get there early, to get a seat. Trust me, the lines will be long to get into Airedale Stadium on both the Van Buren and the home side. But take your time getting here. Let's have a good time and enjoy the first football game of 10. Plus the playoffs this year for Alma Airedale football. For Coach Doug Loughridge, I'm Jimmy Haas. Be sure to go to airedale.nation.com and follow this show throughout the season. We'll have it for you after each and every football game, and then Kendi will have it up on that following weekend for you to view and enjoy. Make sure that you support our sponsors. We certainly want to thank them again. And if you would like to be a sponsor on this show, just contact Kendi or contact John at Airedale Nation or contact Coach Loughridge, and we'll certainly get you on where you can show your support and back the Alma Airedale. So I'm Jimmy Haas. Thanks for tuning in.
Football season is here, and at Crabtree RV in Alma, that means model year-end closeout time. The 2019s have arrived, and the remaining 18s must go. Save up to $10,000 off the original list price on new travel trailers and fifth wheels, and with payments as low as $138, zero down, and dozens under $199 a month. You won't have to break your budget to tailgate with your favorite team or just enjoy the great outdoors. Model year-end closeout time only at Crabtree RV in Alma, where your family's dreams come true. See dealer for details.